everyone, and welcome. My name is Kim Whitaker. I'm a certified regenerative detoxification specialist through the International School of the Healing Arts and Sciences and the founder of Rejuvenate Raw with Kim. So, let me tell you a little bit about my story. For more than 5 years, I lived with severe chronic illness. I battled constant intestinal pain, infections, skin issues, neurological problems, and so much more. I was isolated at home for 5 years, couldn't drive a car, I couldn't even talk on the phone. I felt hopeless, and I spent thousands and thousands of dollars chasing answers that never came. But everything changed when I discovered Dr. Robert Morse's teachings. His work on detoxification and the lymphatic system gave me the answers that no doctor ever had. Because of him, I am alive and thriving today. I have to say, though, that detox was not easy. There were a lot, and I mean a lot of hard days. It took a year before I believed I would live, 2 years before I started to feel like myself again, and about 4 years before the bad days truly faded. But I have to say, it was absolutely positively worth it in the long run. And now it is such an honor to welcome Dr. Robert Morse, who is a pioneer in regenerative detoxification. He's a founder of the International School of Detoxification and someone whose work has touched thousands upon thousands of lives. And before I introduce Dr. Morse, though, I want to sincerely thank him from the bottom of my heart for what he did for me. I truly, truly believe I would not be here today had he not been sharing all his information about detoxification and the lymphatic system on videos. So it is my heartfelt honor to welcome Dr. Robert Morse.
Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate talking with you today and helping anyone out there that is in serious trouble. Because as we were talking earlier, it's hard to find a remedy out there medically because there's no remedy for their understanding of diseases and that whole idiocy and falsehood. When you understand the basics of your body, the basics of chemistry, it's easy to understand why you suffer and easy to understand how you fix it. And you did an excellent job of fixing yourself.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for what you did for me. Well, let's dig in because I have lots of questions. Are you ready?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Could you start by sharing a little bit about your journey and how you came to focus on detoxification and the lymphatic system?
Well, I had moved from Indiana down to Florida and was building a house from the ground up. I wanted to learn how to build it, do it all myself. I hired a friend off at the beach, and he was bringing a lunch every day of fruit and vegetables. And I'm probably eating McDonald's sandwiches. I don't know, and I'm keep looking at those fruits, and I'm going, man, that really looks good. He said, well, read this book. And it was a natural hygienic book. And that really changed everything for me that way. So I just picked up, went raw. Then I read books on fruitarianism, which was very rare back in the early 70s. Yeah. And it just totally made sense. The Homo sapien is a frugivore, and it just made total sense. So I went out into the woods, lived alone, and ate nothing but fruit. And what I witnessed and what I saw come out of me later on when I became a naturopath and a biochemist, I started realizing what man's problems was.
That's awesome. I've never really heard your story before, so thank you. So, what is true detoxification? I remember before I knew about all this, I would go get a pill to detox the intestinal track from a health food store. So can you explain this?
Yeah, in reality, true detoxification is nothing but hydration. And hydration only occurs when your foods are alkaline or electron dominant. And that's your fruits, your berries, your melons, and your vegetables. Outside of that, all the other foods are more acid ash foods. There's only two sides to chemistry. So whenever you suffer, you have to ask yourself, which side of chemistry am I suffering on? Because there's only two sides, and everything in this world is chemistry. So when you look at hydration, that is an alkaline experience. Most people are eating highly acidic foods like meats, grains, beans, that sort of thing, cooked dairy products, things like this. So their body becomes very acidic. They rob the blood becomes, to save its pH, it steals calcium out of people. So they start losing their connective tissue. They start bruising easy, varicose spider veins, hernias, aneurysm, that whole line of problems. But it destroys the gut. High protein diets destroys the GI tract and the kidney tissues. And I discovered that your kidneys are a part of the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is your sewer system. And the medical doctors have not got there. They don't understand the lymphatic system. And simply put, your body's made of nothing but a bunch of cells and two major fluids. One's blood and one's lymph. The blood is your kitchen and your lymph is your sewer system. And your kidneys and your skin are your eliminative organs to your sewer system. And when you understand that and understand what it is you want to see and how you proceed with that, you'll understand how you clean all the pain out of your body. You clean up the terrain so the parasites are gone, and you start rebuilding tissue. And you can only do that in an alkaline slurry because the blood is alkaline. So the ingestion of your diet has to be predominantly alkaline, or you're going to pay a price to that someday. So that price is agglomulation. The body gets stiff, it gets sore, and like you, pain all over the place. And the only remedy is detoxification. But detoxification is simply hydration. True hydration.
Well, that's great information. Thank you so much. And then you teach us a lot about how the kidneys fit into detoxification. So what does kidney filtration really tell us, and how do we measure it?
Well, when I was living in the woods, I lived in a Volkswagen van, and so I had to pee in a jar at night. I'd set it up on this table thing, and I'd look at it, and there'd be sediment in the bottom of it, kind of like the sediment right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the more sediment, I'm going, oh man, I detoxed good today. And I didn't know any better. I was only like 21 years old, 22 years old. And so when I became a biochemist and a naturopath, I did a lot of blood and urinalysis on people. And the urinalysis kept coming back clear urine. Clear urine. And I'm thinking to myself, why would your urine be clear for? It dawned on me right then, I get it, what man's problem was, and that the kidneys are the eliminative organs. And when I started teaching that and showing people that they needed to get their kidneys to start filtering and start hydrating these acids out of you, our success went way up. There's nothing we couldn't cure. If you had spinal cord injuries, we could pull you out of your chairs, you name it.
I love that. I love that.
That's fun.
Okay.
That was fun stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about food and diet and the myths around that. So you know what I'm going to ask, right? The most common question I hear is about protein. How do humans actually get the protein they need?
Oh.
And why is this protein myth so prevalent still today?
I can't tell you because everybody suffers with it. Bodybuilders,
yes.
You go into their stories and the suffering they go through consuming high proteins. When you take a look, I've got a new book coming out. It's a video book, and I'm doing it with a college professor that teaches A&P. And we're showing that we're going back 20 million years at least with Dr. Walker's work to show you that the Homo sapien is truly a frugivore, that his diet is truly a fruitarian diet. Vegetables are herbivores, and we're not herbivores. We don't grind. We don't have the GI tract required for vegetable matter. And so protein diet, not even omnivores, which are dogs, hogs, bears, or chickens, birds, so to speak, they can't deal with high proteins either. You don't give bears high protein diets. The cat family is the only true carnivores, and they suffer for that. Low endurance, you can go on and on and on with that. Totally different designs. So the Homo sapien is truly a frugivore. But this whole protein myth is also spilled over into the sugar myth. So
That was my next question.
it is, and it's just these are huge myths that are hurting humans, and it's just lies after lies after lies. Now they have baby carnivores where they're showing babies eating on meat, and it's like, no, no,
Oh,
no, 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 no. That
no.
yeah, they just removed all the baby foods off the baby food sections, and people go, well, there's no baby foods. And the reason is that it was causing our children NEC, which is necrosis of the small bowel, because high protein. We are not a high protein species. We get plenty of amino acids from our fruits. Take a look at primates. We're in that family. And we're only 2% different than the orangutan, 2%. An orangutan baby can rip a human apart. There is no deficiency on a fruitarian diet whatsoever, and it feeds the brain. Remember, we were talking about Yale University came out, and from a physiological point of view, I've always wondered why the brain didn't uptake insulin, since insulin is required for using glucose, which is a simple sugar. But the brain doesn't. And the reason that Yale found is that the brain can only use fructose. The body converts glucose to fructose. Fructose is neurological. So if I have a quadriplegic in front of me, a paraplegic, I have MS, Lou Gehrig's, Parkinson's, I can't rebuild them with vegetables. Put them on fruit, I can get them walking, I can get them talking again, I can get them singing, I can just turn their lives totally around. But I can't do it on vegetables.
Exactly. Well, you just answered my next question about diet and what's the best diet for humans. There's just so many false diets out there.
Oh,
I got caught up in the keto. I was just trying
yeah.
anything to get well, and that diet is so prevalent, much
Mm-hmm.
more so than the fruit diet. And I guess it's just marketing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, in one sense of the word, when you start out on them, it can be more of an anti-inflammatory diet in
Hmm.
the sense that your lymphatic system uses lipids. Your lymphatic system is a lipid-based system, or what we call a cholesterol-based system. And that's because acids are so aggressive. They're corrosive. If you're a chemist, you understand that acids are the corrosive side of chemistry. Well, acids are the byproducts of metabolism, respiration, kinetic energy. Whether it's moving, walking, exercising, or whatever, you produce acids. You have to get rid of these acids out of the body, or you see the word inflammation. Medical doctors think your body just reabsorbs these acids and sends them back through the blood.
Wow.
Stupid, stupid, stupid. You
Yeah.
can't do that and win the day. You can't do that. And that's what you suffered with, extreme
Yep.
systemic acidosis, lupus, Lyme's, fibromyalgia,
Yes.
systemic acidosis. And you're going to lose tissue. You're going to have pain all over the place. You're going to be full of fungus, all kinds of things with that.
So, I told you a little earlier that my heart has always been with children and
Yeah.
babies, and
Me
I
too.
just feel so much for them because they don't stand a chance from the beginning. I was very sickly as a child, and I wish that could have been different. But, I think it's interesting that, you know how moms believe that nursing for a year or more is always best, and we have all these moms groups, saying how long they've been nursing, and this is really cool. But you've been teaching us that this might not always be ideal. So can you explain this to us?
Well, again, looking at the two sides of chemistry, again, there's only two sides to chemistry. Mother's milk has to be alkaline, just like adults eating foods has to be alkaline because the blood is alkaline in its pH. If you eat acidically, that lowers your blood pH, and the blood then has to steal calcium out of your bones or connective tissue to bring the pH back up, or death is imminent. Your blood can't be acidic without you dying in 3 minutes or so. So it just goes to understand that your ingestion has to be alkaline. Well, most mothers don't eat right. They eat a highly acidic diet, and their mother's milk becomes acidic. And then the children get colicky and mucus from all this kind of stuff, and they start getting sickly because they become, full of mucus and congestion and acidic. We've helped a lot of mothers conceive because a lot of mothers that are short or too tall can't conceive. They're
Hmm.
pituitary. So we get them to conceive and have babies. But before that, I preach the gospel in that you've got to get your body healthy because mama, baby, genetically in so many tissues, but also lymphatically. And a good example is the parathyroid. If your parathyroids are down, you can't utilize calcium. Well, then your baby can't utilize calcium, steals it from you, the mother, the teeth go, your bones go, postpartum depressions come in, and then the baby starts having problems because their parathyroids are down. And it's just a long chain of the medical profession not understanding the human body correctly and how you fix these things and what it's like when you're too short, you're too tall, what your endocrinology is really all about. And so we teach that to everyone there. And we have a line of healthy babies because we're frugivores. You can't give baby high protein formulas. And these formulas are high protein, low sugar. Mother's milk, human mother's milk, is about almost 8% carbon, that's sugar. Half of that, about a little more than 3% lipids, that's your lymphatic system. And then less than 1% protein. Well, that's human mother's milk. Why would you give a child a high protein diet when mother's milk is the lowest in protein? It's an oxymoron. It just shows biochemists don't understand. And now children are having all kinds of problems. But we can fix those things. But wouldn't it nicer to have a healthy baby instead of having them run them to the hospital all the time?
What about these nursing mothers having heart palpitations?
Well, I submit to you probably moving into the parathyroid gland again. Nerve transmission is really important with the calcium side of that. But I'll make the statement that almost literally everyone has adrenal gland problems. The adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys, but one of their jobs is to produce neurotransmitters for your autonomic nervous system. That runs the heart. But it's your energy levels. It's everything. The autonomic has two sides to it, duality again. And so you breathe that way. Anytime you have asthma or any COPD, it's always your adrenal glands. It's a neurological experience. And when your nervous system is down, then your lights don't come on properly. But your adrenals also control the kidneys and lymphatic filtration. And that's what builds back up in the body when your adrenals are down, your kidneys are down, your urine is clear, and you start seeing the inflammatory response to that.
Excellent. So I had a mom ask me, she believes in all of this, but she wants to just make sure that her children have the proper nutrients, for bones and their growth and so forth. So she's afraid to jump in. What would you say to her?
I would say to her that the Homo sapien is a frugivore. You can't disprove it. Anthropology, like I said, Dr. Walker's work has been back 20 million years. The hominids were frugivores. They're saying the Homo erectus was a little bit of an omnivore, but the Homo sapien, and he also made statements that the human tissue has not adapted to an omnivorish diet, which is most humans are eating omnivorishly, which like dogs and hogs and bears and stuff like that. No, and then we bring it into a clinical. I've had 54 years of clinical work now, and I can't rebuild someone's tissue on an omnivorish diet. And I was talking to you earlier. I can't rebuild a quad or paraplegic on vegetables. I had an ambulance bring me an advanced MS patient. She was 43-year-old female on a stretcher, stiff as a board. I put her all on fruit. And in 2.5 months, she starts sitting up. She's feeding herself. She's wheeling herself. Okay. And I said, you know what? You're so skinny, honey. I want to put you on green drinks. I want to try to build muscle. And I'm an old farm boy. We used to give alfalfa to our horses for muscle. So I put her on a salad and some green drinks. And you know what happened to her? She went back to not moving again. Yeah. I had to put her back on the fruit level diet again. And it just shows you, I've had so much clinical involvement, like you said, thousands of people around the world. Our students from our school has been doing the same thing. So we've healed thousands, tens of thousands of people around the world to prove our point. We have a Dr. Morse's .tv site with testimonials, and you'll see how I rebuild a toe that they wanted to cut off. I rebuilt a toe just on fruit.
That was amazing. I saw that.
Yeah. The nails, the bone, the tissues of all levels, just on fruit diet. And then there's one young man that the father beat pretty badly against the walls. I fractured all kinds of things. They said he was going to be blind in his left eye, couldn't see, couldn't walk. I had to use his mother because his mother was afraid to give him fruit. I used her through her breast milk with herbs and a fruit diet she had to go on, and he's totally normal.
Wow.
And we have pictures of that to show you that through the breast milk.
That is so cool.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool when you regenerate the human form. It's easy to understand when you understand there's only two sides to chemistry. You have only two fluid-based systems in the body. Blood is your kitchen. That's your sugar-based, carbon-based fluid. And then you have your sewer system, which is your lymphatic system. And you have a ton of septic tanks, lymph nodes. And when you understand that and you realize that you need to get rid of these acid wastes that are produced, even when you just walk or talk, you're producing waste. And they have to be removed. If you hold acids in, inflammation is your story. Pain, swelling, all that you see. Cholesterol problems, calcium-related problems, all that you see each and every time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to know, why are they not teaching about the lymphatic system in like grade school? They have science, so why are they not teaching about that?
Well, like I said, I have a dear friend that's co-writing some books with me on the lymphatic system, by the way. We're writing a professional manual on the lymphatic system. But she teaches medical doctors anatomy and physiology, and her school won't allow her to teach what she knows. She quit for about a year and came working with me, helping people to overcome all kinds of problems. She knows firsthand. Right? Because when I first came out with this, she called me, and several A&P professors called me and said, you just answered how the body gets rid of acid lymphatic waste. They have known that. And here's a good example. For years, the medical profession claimed there's no lymphatic system in your brain. Well, the Spaniards found the lymphatic system in rats in 2014, I think it was, and another country found the lymphatic system in the human brain the next year.
Nice.
Yes, the lymphatic system is a serious system, and I'll just give you an idea. These are the lymph vessels just in your finger.
Amazing. Amazing.
Just in your finger. You can imagine how it is in your brain and everywhere else. You have sewage that those lymph vessels have to remove out of your body. And it goes right from the cells to the lymph nodes, which is your septic tanks, and then to your kidneys or your skin. And if you're not eliminating, you're holding. And when you hold, you swell up with edema, you start having pain, and like you had it all through your body.
I did.
Yeah. Tissue. Oh, yeah. Destroying your cells.
I had so much buildup in my head that the plates in my head were just rigid. Oh. And my neck was all the way to the side like this. I couldn't even straighten my head. And I'm still working it out 6.5 years later.
Well, look at Leon Dion. She's got that stiff syndrome. That's all systemic acidosis, easy to fix. You've got Bruce Willis, frontal head dementia. But look how long he's been balding up there. And the question when you're balding, what took off your hair? There's only two sides to chemistry. And the alkaline side is the hydrating side. It's the electrical side. It's the blood side. It's the lymphatic side that destroys you. When you have a cancer cell, diagnosed with a cancer cell, that's the lymph system. That's not your blood causing that. That's your lymphatic system. And if you don't move it out, you'll have a tumor, a cyst, a boil, fibroids, endometriosis. You go right down all the disease lines, which is a fallacy. The medical world is lost in this illusionary concept of diseases. There's no such thing. That's a 17th century bullcrap. No, there's a cause for every effect. And when you learn the simplicity of this, you can fix anything. Now, you might be working on it.
It's so simple. It's so simple. That's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
So let's segue into, let's talk about supplements versus herbs. I was all caught up in the supplements and taking hundreds at some time. So tell us why you put so much emphasis on the herbs in detox.
Okay, so when I came out of the woods, I was fruitarian thinking, but I wondered, what am I going to do for a living? And I opened up health food stores. And I had supplements. I had supplements in my own name. And then I said, well, this doesn't fit holistically. These are isolates. And holistic means you have to consume things in its whole state. And so this little spiritual thing hit me. What about the herbs? Look what I created. And I just started looking at herbs like, oh, that's the answer. Because herbs are not for diseases. That's a medical nowhere land. Herbs are for every body part there is. There's herbs for the liver, herbs for the heart, herbs for the lymphatic system, herbs for the blood. There's herbs for every part of the body there is. And when I started using botanicals and hooked to a raw diet, man, my success went skyrocketing out. But I tried supplements. I tried a lot of things, interleukins. I tried all kinds of things on cancer patients, just because you're like this, you want to save them. And I realized, no. None of that worked. People would bring grocery bags full of supplements and set them on my desk. I said, if these work, how come you're here to see me then? See, and so it's just like, I'll give you an example, ascorbic acid, vitamin C, Linus Pauling. Ascorbic what? Acid. So now they're using intravenously for vitamin C for cancer.
I did that.
Yep. You're surprised you didn't get hardening of the arteries because you're putting in acid, which is just a spinoff on the Krebs cycle. These are acids. You don't play with acids.
Wow. So you touched on hydration. I drank like 2 gallons of water a day when I was sick, and I still went to the ER, and they told me I was dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing quenched my thirst like fruit juices did when I started doing that.
Exactly.
Can you tell us the difference between those?
Why? Well, water's pH is, unless it's mountain water where you have inorganic minerals kind of charging it up, you're around 7 pH neutral. They claim water's neutral, yet on the chemical side, we consider water as the universal solvent. So it's got 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen. Even though oxygen's a little more bioactive than hydrogen, it still gives it more of a little acidic flavor. Well, acids, they can stimulate you, like estrogen is a stimulant, testosterone are stimulants, but their pHs are in the upper 5s, upper 6s. At a 5.5 pH, you'll lose your teeth enamel. And you can't do that. Most everything man eats below 5.5. And when you look at Coke and Pepsi and carbonated drinks, you're down, even Gatorade, you're down below 3 pH. Well, 3 pH is how you destroy a cell. That's how you make a normal cell, a cancer cell, is 3 pH and below. And most metabolitic wastes in the body are 3 pH. And if you don't get them to the lymph nodes and the bacteria break them down and get them up to 6, you're going to pee on your knees. You can't pee 3 pH. You feel like you have a wicked UTI.
It's hot.
Yeah, very hot.
Yeah, burns. So, well, let's talk a little bit about fasting. That's been such a big part of my healing. What is your take on the different kinds of fasting, like fruit, juicing, water and dry fasting? How long is safe or appropriate for most people?
Well, I've done water fasting. I've done up to 3 weeks or more at a time. But for me, when you're starting out with this, hydrate yourself on fruits. Take some herbs, get your kidneys to start filtering, look for that sediment in your urine, and then dig into a water fast, because water fast is very astringent. Dry fasting is even more astringent. You'll see stuff coming out of your urine that'll scare you. So when you don't eat, your body takes that energy from digestive power and it takes to cleaning itself. And man, it'll clean itself. So dry fasting, I don't recommend long dry fasts. I'm only a 24-hour, 36-hour dry faster.
Agreed.
Some of these guys are dry fasting for 2 weeks, and I'm totally opposed to that. You've got to be really hydrated and fairly healthy to move that. And so if you're in your last legs of maybe tumors and chemotherapy, you might, but you still want that power of the fruit because it's astringent, it's electron dominant, it's hydrating, it'll get the kidneys flushing better, it turns the body on electrically. When you look at water, I forget what the electrical side of water looks like, but when you look at fruit under Kirlian photography, extremely electrical. It's like when you look at Kirlian photography and you look at the different levels of foods and you look at the difference between a raw food and a cooked food, you see that the energy is totally dissipated from cooked foods. And the problem is chemistry is electrical first. And so this physics always created chemistry. And so you've got to think about the electrical side of life, because even through your gut, and we're going to show this in our new book, how the electricity of foods as it's broken down enzymatically is released all along your small and large bowels. And that electrical goes right to your related tissues. Your GI tract is that embryonic trunk, and that is tied to all your organs and glands. People don't realize your GI tract is a vital organ that electrically is vital to be electrical. But we eat foods that lock it up, white flour. The old saying, the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. All this gluey type stuff locks the bowels up. You have malabsorption inside the wall. The lymphatic system gets stagnant, so you lose the ability to absorb nutrition. You've got so many things to think about that I've got a lot of videos to help you sift through it. But they don't want to keep it complex. You want to keep it simple. Yeah. Keep it simple. But
all right. Well, let's move into a little bit more about the healing and illness. So, I think one of the most powerful things I learned from watching some of your first videos is that we don't need a separate treatment for every disease. Doctors give you a pill for cholesterol, for blood pressure medicine. But you taught me that the body heals as a whole, which was so much more simple, because I was feeling like I had to be a PhD in something in order to heal myself, but it wasn't the case.
Yeah, that's crazy thinking. The disease theory goes way back to, I think, Jenner. The germ theory, of course, Pasteur, instead of Beecham. When you go back to the Rockefellers and you go back to understanding Standard Oil and what Rockefellers did with the pharmaceutical industry and with the allopathic community, they made the treatment of diseases through pharmaceuticals. And they had all these symptomologies were different diseases and stuff. No, it isn't. You only have two fluids and everything else is cells. And so you have different degrees and levels of problems in different locations, but it's always acidosis. You might have some alkalotic issues at times, but most people suffer from acidosis. And that's just the degree. And of course, added on that is the genetic stance of a cell. If you have genetic weakness in tissue created from the same problem, that tissue is going to be weaker and you're going to lose it quicker, lymphatically speaking. So once you understand that there's only two sides of chemistry and you have total control on these things, it don't matter what you're diagnosed with because it's all tied together. Your kidneys control the whole thing. So you generally start out with low blood pressure. As the body builds up more acidically, you then move to high blood pressure. And those things are so easy to cure, it's not even funny. And it's not like you're treating a disease. You're hydrating and fixing these tissues, and they're what they're supposed to be doing for you.
Awesome. My husband was on blood pressure medicine for like over 20 years, and I got him to go to mostly fruit, and within 6 weeks, he was off that medication.
Yeah. But that's why the pressure up here, we were talking earlier, the glaucomic pressures and stuff like that. And you get systemic head to toe. Your sewer system is head to toe. And when you're not filtering, and keep in mind that the right kidney filters the right side of the body, the left kidney filters the left side lymphatically. So one kidney is always weaker than the other. And you'll notice that a lot of times you have more problems only on one side of the body more than another. And that's that side that you're backed up lymphatically more. Again, when the lymphatic system backs up, you see every disease you can name. It's all inflammatory. A key word that medical doctors use for lymphatic problems is autoimmune. You got an autoimmune problem. It's a catch-all drawer, meaning I don't know what you got, but for us, it's your immune system. And your immune system is your lymphatic system. Your blood is not your immune system. It's your
I had fibromyalgia is what the doctors called it. Yep. And I went to a rheumatoid specialist and he told me, don't know what causes it, but you will never get rid of it. It's a life sentence.
Yeah. Well, they can't because they're treating it as a disease and they're treating it with a pharmaceutical. There's no coming out of that. You're treating pain and swelling and just adds to the problem more and more. It's like we talked about Hildy, an old friend of yours and mine. Mm-hmm. Her in bed, she had RA. severe rheumatoid arthritis, and she had tried every chemical, she told me, pharmaceutical on the market. She even tried Botox. And she had a lot of a world coming out of that. It was pure hell coming out of that.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you can't treat your problems. Even with botanicals, I don't recommend treating anything. Understand what goes on in the body when you have a symptom and how do you simply fix that. And once you do, you're free. You're free from it. And it can be deep. Like you were telling me earlier, you had tumors come out of you. You had all kinds of things. I've had people spit up tumors out of the lungs, but skin pop open and tumors come out. Nowadays, with the herbs and the way we do it, you don't have such a radical detox.
Okay. Yeah. So, we touched a little bit on cancer because it really is the most feared diagnosis in the world.
Crazy.
And what is cancer? And how does detoxification help us overcome it?
So to understand cancer, there's only one person that can diagnose you with that, and that is a pathologist. And why? You need to have a biopsy because you need to take him a cell in your body, and then he says, oh, that's a degraded cell, or it's an atypical cell, that sort of thing. My question is, what breaks down the cell? There's a cell in your liver, healthy as all get out, and suddenly it becomes a cancer cell. What did it? You just suddenly go nuts? No, 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 no. You have a sewer system in your body around every cell. And if you don't move that sewer system out, imagine anybody that's had their toilet overflowed in their house, what that's like. And imagine your cells living around that for years. And it just breaks down tissue, becomes atypical first, and then a cell becomes a cancer cell. Your body, when a cell's damaged, your body through the lymph system, through the lymphocytes, take it to the lymph nodes, and those cells are broken down by macrophages and then taken to the kidneys or the skin to get rid of the waste from that. It's that simple. But when your kidneys back up, your lymph nodes back up, then your cells can't remove those wastes anymore. And then monocytes interstitially become macrophages, and that's when you see problems. But it's just your sewer system. That's all it is. And it doesn't, cancer's not a creeping, crawling crud. Oh, I picked you, so you must be a bad sort. And this cell can come out of this tissue and travel up to this tissue and make that a cancer cell too. That's all idiocy. Even kindergartners be smarter than that. It's ridiculous. And then they put a 1.5 to 2 pH acid in your blood. That's criminal to me. You'd never put an acid in someone's blood, especially 1.5 to 2 pH. You can't come out of that sort of thing. Some people live, back in the day, you lived maybe 6 out of 100 people lived for 5 years, and after 5 years, maybe 3 of those might have survived. So now they just pump you full of steroids following chemo, and it's like, it's just such a crazy thing that if you choose chemo, you're choosing your own death. Harvard did a study that said the sooner the diagnosis, the sooner the treatment, the sooner your death.
True.
You can't treat these things. You have to understand, you're not trying to treat this wicked old witch of the East in there destroying your cells. You have a system down in your body, and you have to understand the system you have down and how do you fix that system. And there's only 2 fluid-based systems in the body. Only 2. And there's only 2 sides of chemistry. And each system deals with each side of chemistry. It's that simple.
Yeah, I had, told you earlier, I had a tumor growth on my thyroid. Found it in the midst of being super sick. I thought, that's it. I'm a goner. That's it. It's over. And I was working with a natural health doctor. He was not into your protocol, but he did advise me not to get it biopsied because he said that would release the cells into my body. So I did not. So I can't say for sure it was cancer, but it had all the markings. And once I found your protocol, I started detoxing. I was so excited about it, dealing with detoxification symptoms. I forgot to check it. And so 4 months later, I touched it and it's like, oh my gosh, it's almost gone. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And today, of course, it's completely gone. And I had absolutely no medical intervention with that at all. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, we get goiters way out to here, and stuff like that. And the bottom line, tumors are not cancerous. Cells are cancerous. But it's only meaning that a cell is degraded to a point that it needs to go to a macrophage to get its butt eliminated. That's all it is. The body rebuilds those cells. But what's causing that? And it's not an autoimmune, your body's going crazy. It's nothing to lack of understanding. People that don't understand that are just lost in space. And when you understand how the body really works lymphatically and all this and the chemistry of the food you're eating, you start to understand why you see these things. And so tumors is just a first sign to show you any swelling, fibrocystic breast, endometriosis, fibroid. That's all a sign that your lymphatic system is not moving. And of course, after a while, it's going to chew you up. It's going to chew your uterus up. It's going to chew your breasts up. Wherever we're talking, chew your brain up, chew your lungs up. That's what acids do. They're corrosive and they're easy to remedy. Easy to
Yes.
remedy.
Well, I have just a few more questions for you,
Sure.
but we have to get into this one because this is so important. I think it's so overlooked, even in people using your protocol,
Yeah.
because detox isn't just physical,
Right.
it's emotional too. And that was a big part of my healing. I worked with an energy healer and was able to work on stored past negative emotions. So, how do emotions and past traumas affect our health? And how important is it to address those as well as the diet?
Majorly, when you look at the chakras and your endocrine glands, each chakra is hooked to an endocrine gland. So your emotional chakra is your adrenal glands. That's your neurological, that's all your steroids, your gonadals, all of that is tied emotionally into your sexual things, all of that. And so the more unhappy you are, the more your adrenals are down, the more stressed you are, your adrenals are down, where your adrenals sit on top of your kidneys and control the kidneys, sodium potassium pump. Well, but when you lose your kidney filtration, that's when all your sewer system backs up. Now, I'll give you a good case in point there. I had a chiropractor's wife. She had Lou Gehrig's. She was in a wheelchair, modeled. She couldn't walk. So in 5 months, I had her up walking, pulling her stroller and all that. She was from Czechoslovakia or somewhere. And she told me how her dad and her had just, they weren't good this lifetime together, right? Two souls needed to part. Right. But she was going over and visiting them. I said, I wouldn't advise that. You're not completely healed up. I wouldn't advise that. But she went anyway. She came back. They had a big fight over there. She came back, couldn't walk anymore. You just, it's vital that you take time, give yourself flowers, love yourself, and become strong within that side of you because your emotions is everything. Spiritually speaking, you have positive and negative. Well, the positive side is the alkaline female side. The negative side is the acid male side. And the more negative you get, the more negative emotions and anger and hate, things like this, the more acidic you get. And
Right.
then that's when you start paying a price for that. So it's like relaxing and all this is very helpful with that, but also becoming to know more of who you are. Quit thinking so much.
Quieting the mind. I spent a lot of
Quieting
time
the mind.
practicing how to do that.
Yeah. It's all about thought anyway. If you can break thought, then you become conscious. And I was an old out of body traveler. We're living in the woods. I was out of my body more than in my body. I taught out of body traveling for years. And after a while, the master said to me, but who's the traveler? And that just woke me up. I was looking external to myself. And I didn't realize consciousness is
Mm,
becoming the self again. There's only the one. Whether you and I are looking at each other as individuals, but we're looking in embodiments, we're looking in creation, which is dualistic, right?
yes.
You have to have two forces at play to have form. But at a certain level, you lose form, you become the one again. And so when you can move into, break thought and get into awareness, then it's like taking binoculars. Thought is like using binoculars. You put them down, look at what all you can see. So J. Krishnamurti, the Eckmasters, these are all good sources of teaching you how to break thought to where then you can start to see more and understand more than thought, because thought is all conditioned. You only condition, like you were telling me earlier, your church
Mhm.
and your religions and whatever, you're conditioned you. And so
Yep.
sometimes that conditioning is a chain around your neck. And sometimes you have to lay things aside and take a look at what reality really is.
Yes.
Mhm.
So you touched earlier on parasites, and they were such a huge problem for me. So, what role do parasites play in illness and cravings? And how should people deal with them during detox?
Well, we always put people on a parasitic cleanse when we put them on detoxes and stuff because people get full of all kinds of worms. But everybody's got fungus in them. That's your craving for sugars. Fermented foods like cheeses and breads, that's all fungal problems. You itch with them, stuff like this. They can also make you feel like you're brain dead. Bacterium, they're all in there for trash. Basically, if I said to you that your inner terrain is your parasitic world. And the difference is between Pasteur and Beecham. Beecham saw that these are microbiologists. He saw that your inner terrain dictated your parasitic problems, where Pasteur said they're outside of you in attacking you. No, 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 no. If you got E. coli and stuff like that, you're a meat eater. You know, when you can look at the bad stuff, H. pylori in the stomach and stuff, easy stuff to get rid of, you're looking at your inner terrain. And when you're eating dead animals, you're drinking milks, you're eating grain products or beans, you're putting a very nasty inner terrain, a very acidic inner terrain, and you're going to invite these little fellas in. You can't keep microorganisms out of your body. I have news for people. Masks don't do it either. That's a joke.
Yeah.
You can't keep that out because you're inviting them in by the types of foods you're eating. So when you go on these high electrical diets and fruit diets and stuff, that alone will clean them out.
Mm-hmm.
But we
And
always
dairy as well, right?
Oh, yeah, dairy, bad, 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 bad. There's nothing healthy about milk whatsoever. Initially, like I said, when the mother has alkaline milk for the baby, 6 months to a year, okay. But after a while, when you start seeing the baby start to get mucousy and clog up way too much, you got to start having some fruit, sucking on fruit and stuff like this, because fruit matures the electrical system, matures the brain. And if anything, you do not want to have a neurologically compromised baby. So you really want to, and then learn how toxic vaccines are. Learn the neurotoxicity of vaccines, and that is one of the biggest scams on the planet.
So, what age can mothers start putting babies on only fruit?
Well, it depends. I've had mothers having to do it at 6 months just because of the nature of the problems, because we have babies with tumors and stuff like this. And when you have a tumor, we had a young baby, I forget, 9 months old, had a tumor behind the left eye. They wanted to remove the left eye. We had the tumor gone in a couple of months on fruit diet.
That's so cool.
Once you understand the lymphatic system and that the mother gives the baby their lymphatic systems. Yeah, if the mother's not filtering lymphatically, neither is the baby. I have news for you. And so babies now are born with tumors and all kinds of things. But man doesn't understand, or humans don't understand, the importance of the proper diet. So the genetic downslide of the human cell is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Kids are born mutated like crazy. It's a mess out there. We talked about it earlier. Yeah. These young children are born with all kinds of problems. And that gets my heart,
Mine too.
Yeah.
So last question, kind of. So everywhere I go, and this just drives me crazy whenever I go out shopping, Costco or whatever, I'm always looking around and observing, and I see people with canes, wheelchairs, those little carts, trouble walking. My mom has neuropathy, a lot of people having neuropathy. Yeah. Why are we seeing these mobility issues that are so widespread today?
They're extremely acidic, so they lose their nervous systems, You get a good example down here in Florida, very subtropical area, an acidic zone. Everything grows fruit-wise. You're supposed to eat alkaline. So when they come from up north, they're used to higher protein diets in cold climates. When cold is alkaline. So when it's cold, you want to eat warm. When it's hot, you want to cool off, right? It's just duality. So they make a big mistake coming down here and eating the meats and all this, and their health just goes right on down. We have a nursing home on every corner down here, hospitals on every corner and stuff. And these people are easy to fix. I pull them out of nursing homes all the time. I got so many stories a mile long of pulling people out of nursing homes, as long as the kids don't mind.
I love that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I had a guy, he couldn't talk. He was in a bed stiff. His wife and his son came to talk to me, and this is probably midsummer, and they were saying how bad his dad is and all that. And I said, well, you get the medical doctor to approve, and we'll put him on a fruit diet and all this. I think he had a stomach tube or whatever. By Christmas, I had him home laughing and having fun with his kids.
Oh, that is amazing.
Cool stuff.
Well, you have just given us so much amazing
Oh,
information,
thanks.
and I sure appreciate the time and your knowledge you've shared with us and just
Anytime, sweetie.
everything you did for us. I told my readers on my pages that I was going to interview you, and I said that if I was given the choice to interview anyone on the planet, it would be you.
Oh,
So
thanks. Well,
I
you want
thank
to
you.
rejuvenate yourself spiritually,
Mhm.
physically, because it's your experience while you're here. Yeah, you're going to leave the body and get another body or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you want to work in the now, live in the now. And the problem you said earlier is there's so much misinformation, high protein diets, all this stuff. None of this stuff is true. The human is a frugivore. Remember, high fruits, very powerful. And you're a great example of that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again. It's been such a pleasure.
Same here.
All right.
Love you.
You take care, okay?
Love you, honey.